everybody, how's it going? I'm the Tmeister and welcome back to the region of Timbukton. In today's episode, guys, we are going to be, for the first half of the episode, we're going to be terraforming a large portion of Burton County. We're going to get it ready for some upcoming episodes. And in the second half of the episode, we're going to be working on the northern shore of Burton County. So this episode is going to have the same sort of vibe as the last episode when we worked on Edinburgh. This region is going to be based on the same sort of region in real life. So Edinburgh is pretty much completely based on Lunenburg, and whatever we're going to work on today is going to be sort of based on that same region. The Maine coast and Nova Scotian coast. So basically we have like old colonial housing everywhere, and the area is going to be a lot based on fishing and tourism, things like that. So in this episode, we're going to be building a whole bunch of different things. We're going to be building a small beach, also a small campground. Like the last episode, I'm sort of going to start to skip around a little bit more in my videos. It's not that I want to rush everything and, just get the series over with. It's just that I want to keep the content fresh and new, and I don't want to sort of release repetitive content all the time. So for example, if I want to plop down some residential along like a nice country back road or something, unless I find anything particularly interesting to film, I just won't film it. Or I'll film it and I just won't put it in the final video. In this episode, pretty much the first half of it is terraforming, and that's not something that I do quite often. And I thought it would be fun to, showcase a little bit how I do it and my techniques. And, I'm really not an expert by any means in terraforming. I don't know sort of like what's realistic and what's not when it comes to terraforming. I just sort of go by what I see around me. I'll often go jogging or walking in the woods, and I took a lot of inspiration from what I see on my walks and transmitted it into the game. So I'll often see like little streams and rivers and stuff, and I was trying to sort of copy that and put it into City Skylines. But it's super difficult to get streams, especially like the smaller the stream, it seems, the harder it is to get to flow in the game. Even with this scale of a river, I mean, it's not a huge river, but it's still a nice little stream. It's super difficult to get it to flow just right. There's always like a stretch of the river that's just empty, and I don't know, the water physics are just kind of weird in the game. But in the end, I sort of grade everything and pan everything out so it flows nicely. And it's actually one of the first rivers that I've man-made from scratch, and I'm pretty happy with it. It ended up pretty good. But the main reason that I built the river in the first place is because in the future episode, along this little stream is going to be a lot of farmland. So between the shore and the mountains, it's sort of like a valley area. And I got inspiration again from the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia. So you have like a long river running right through the valley, and on either side, you have a lot of farmland. And in this case, it's not mountains that are on both sides, but you have a mountain on one side and the coast on the other. So I think everything, it suits pretty well. I think it's the layout is sort of going to be pretty realistic, and it'll be some pretty interesting content, especially for me, construction-wise, because agriculture isn't really something that I've built, hardly ever in the game. So with all the assets and everything that are available in the workshop now, I think it'll make it a lot easier and much more interesting, and of course a lot more realistic as well, because you're not dealing with like the vanilla props and buildings and stuff. So you have a lot more flexibility and choice now. So that's to come in a future episode. So I'm gonna jump around sort of from left to right in this episode. So we're gonna go from terraforming to building to back and forth. It's gonna be a lot of that in this episode. So we're also gonna be doing quite a bit of detailing as well. Especially along the beach that we're going to get into. What's unique to this area of the map is there's plenty of little islands, and what I've decided to do is to build some nice summer homes and cottages on those islands, and I'm going to be detailing those quite a bit too. I'm going to be exploring a little bit with some new props and things that I haven't used ever, and I'm going to be using some rocks a lot in this episode. So there's some new boulders and rocks and stuff that are on the workshop, and in an area like this, with a rocky shoreline, it makes all the difference. It adds so much realism and character to the landscape. So nonetheless, there's a lot going on in this episode, and there's going to be a lot going on in the next, for the rest of the season, really, or the rest of the entire series. I have so much planned, guys, and I'm so excited to present it all to you guys. So basically, what I'm working on, or what I'm working towards right now, is I'm just trying to make my way into the city of Timbukton, because I'm really excited to get into some more urban environments, and I'm sure that you guys would be pretty excited for that too. There's so many new buildings and new things that came out on the workshop since the Aubrey City days. I'm pretty excited to start working on some actual cities again instead of rural areas. Not that I'm tired of it, but I just like to switch it up a little bit. So the way that I want to organize this, once we get into Timbukton, or the city of Burton, I'd like to start to develop this city, and I want to sort of go back and forth from an urban setting to a rural setting, just to mix it up. I have so many ideas for Burton County. So just to give you guys a brief list, there's going to be a ski hill. Obviously, there's the farming area. There's going to be a racetrack eventually in the series. Tons of stuff. So there's plenty of content, guys, that is on the way. So be sure to stay tuned. What I'm working on right now is a large water reservoir, and this is actually going to be the main water supply for the entire city of Timbukton and Burton. So right at the mouth of the river, well, not at the mouth, but like at the other end, at the beginning of the river, right by the reservoir, is going to be a dam. I'm not sure if I'm going to make like a hydroelectric dam, because I don't think the water flow is going to be strong enough at that point. I'll see what I'll do, but yeah, that's basically the main purpose of this entire river and the reservoir. So you can expect some development in that area in the near future. Alright, so right now I'm working on the highway leading into Burton, and it's pretty much the main highway, and the only highway for that matter, leading into Burton. It goes right through the heart of downtown, leads right into downtown Timbukton, and I'm not really sure on what the numbering scheme of this road is going to be. But just to give you guys an idea, it's going to be a pretty vital artery for both Timbukton and Burton. It'll be like basically the main connection between the two cities. So it'll cross the Timbukton Bay. So I assume that there's going to be a pretty high level of traffic along this stretch of highway. So it's basically the fastest link between Edinburgh and Timbukton as well. So rather than taking the scenic route, right here, guys, right at this intersection, well, not this one right here, but this road crossing the highway, there's going to be a diamond interchange a little bit later. I'm probably going to get started on that in the next episode. And what I'm doing right now is, lately I've actually downloaded the, what is it now? The Mass Transit DLC for City Skylines. I hadn't downloaded it yet, and this finally allows me to build ferries in the game. So I constructed a ferry between Aberdeen and Edinburgh, because there's no fixed link between the two right now, and I was kind of curious at the start to see what sort of effect that would have, and there's really no noticeable effect at all, having no fixed link between the two. So I mean, each city is like completely independent from each other, and they function normally. but I still decided to create that link between the two, hoping that, well, I mean, I'm not really sure what I was hoping for, but anyways, it's there if people want to use it. And so far, not a whole lot of people actually use it. I think there's only like 10 or 15 users per month or whatever is the scale. So yeah, anyways, so now I'm going to be working on actually constructing some homes and businesses and different things along the scenic route here. So if you guys want, you can maybe sort of give a little bit of backstory between or about this area. Maybe give a name to the road, give a name to, like, give you guys an example. In Nova Scotia, this would be the equivalent of like the Lighthouse route, and I know in Maine you have like Highway 1, so they're basically like windy scenic roads that follow the coast, and you know, pretty much any coastal region sort of has its similar roads. So yeah, just drop a comment down below, guys. Give a little bit of backstory, maybe a name to this area or this road, and I'll give you a shout out in the next episode. But this is it. This is the byway, if you want to call it. So along this road, there's obviously going to be a lot of fisheries, a lot of homes. A lot of people will have like their own little boat docks and things. There's going to be some motels, some little restaurants and diners. So it's going to be a pretty densely populated area as well. And this curve right here, for some reason, it reminds me of the route going to Peggy's Cove from Halifax. I've been there countless times, and it's such a fun road to drive, especially when you have a sports car. I mean, you can just fly through these curves, and it's such a blast to drive. And especially me, like, I like long road trips. You know, driving doesn't bother me whatsoever, and I'll often just go out cruising around town and exploring some new roads, and I guess it's sort of a second pastime of mine. And this area, I mean, I was just being so creative with it because I was so, you know, I'm so familiar with what I'm building here that, you know, the inspiration never really stops coming in. I'll talk a little bit about that actually while we're creating this beach here. When I was building Aubrey City, I'll just give you guys an example, or, you know, many of the other cities that I was working on, I'd always have to do tons of research, you know, go on Google Maps for hours and research why infrastructure was built the way it is, and I would figure out, you know, how cities were built, how certain cities looked like. In Timbukton, what's great about it is I'm already familiar with these areas because I live, you know, literally like within an hour from most of the places that I'm basing this place on. You know, like Halifax is 3 hours from me, Maine is like 4 hours from me. So it's areas that I'm super familiar with, and I know how the landscapes are. I know how, you know, I know just how things should look. So it's a lot easier for me, and it allows me to bring you guys some better content.
Am I treating you just
Alright guys, so pretty much what's going on right now is I'm adding some tall grass and bushes and stuff to the beach, and in a second we're going to start to prop the beach, well, the sandy part anyways, so going to add a whole bunch of details to that. So these dirt patches that you're seeing me do right now, adding some fencing around them, this is going to be the parking for vehicles, and I think that the whole way that the transition from the road onto the sand, I mean, it's just so amazing. It's the first time that I'm experimenting with a lot of these props and stuff, so the result was sort of, I didn't know what to expect, but the final result is just super amazing right here. I'm so happy with the way that everything turned out, and of course I created these little paths and stuff onto the beach, and I think they look fantastic. Even when you zoom out, I mean, this beach looks super great. So this beach is not going to be, well, it's a little bigger by size than the last beach that we built around Aspen. The only thing, it's not going to be as popular. It's sort of going to be like a little niche in, it's sort of hidden, in the back of Burton. So a couple of miles up the road, you have the large Burton Beach that's actually in the actual city of Burton, so that's going to be the biggest and most popular beach. And this one is sort of like, in its a little quiet corner. It's sort of more like a private beach. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding a whole bunch of different textures and stuff. And like I said, I'm experimenting a lot here with some assets and textures and stuff that I hadn't used yet. And I think these seaweed textures are just so amazing. It adds so much character and realism to the beach. I'm just so blown away with just the amount of detail and stuff that I was able to pull off here with relatively few props. And I'm making pretty good use of these vanilla logs here too. I think that they fit perfectly well in this sort of situation. And of course any beach has its old washed up logs and stuff, so I guess it adds a little bit of a little detail. But I mean, yeah, this tall grass here that I plopped down, I think it looks just so fantastic. I didn't really know what I was doing when I was creating it. I mean, I was just sort of plopping down a mixture of different grasses and bushes and stuff, and I mean, the final product is way beyond what I was expecting. So yeah, I'm going to be using this technique probably in the next couple of episodes when we develop the larger Burton Beach. And that beach is going to be sort of like on a swamp. Around it's going to be a huge like flat plain. So I'm going to be using a lot of these bushes and stuff in that location too. So I think it's going to look pretty great. Now moving on, I'm going to start to work on the small campground that's right beside the beach. And the inspiration from this comes from an actual campground that I've been to a couple of years ago when I was visiting Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia. So yeah, we get there and we visited a whole bunch of places and stuff during the day, and a little bit later on in the afternoon we decided, okay, we're gonna go set up the tent, get ready for the night. Anyways, I had booked this campground, just a random campground. I seen that it was pretty close to all the places we were visiting, so I figured whatever. So I reserved the spot. So later in the afternoon we get to the campground, and it started to get dark, so you couldn't really see all that much. So we pull up to the office, and it's just this little old house. So anyways, I go inside, and obviously it's the owner's home, and they just made like their business out of their home. So I walk in there, and this little old lady appears. She was probably like 70s or 80s, just a little old lady. And she says, "Oh yeah, you're the whatever Tim who reserved the spot last night and whatever." So she hands me the debit machine, whatever. I pay for the lot. Anyway, she brings out this huge flashlight, this big handheld spotlight. She's like, "Okay, I'll walk you to your spot." So anyway, she starts walking down this little path, and I'm following her with my car. And when she shows us our spot, I mean, it's the greatest spot you could ever ask for. We're like 10 feet right from the water. You could hear the waves crashing on the rocks. So yeah, that's pretty much what this campground is completely based upon. Now, in my years of camping experience, I've noticed that a lot of campgrounds will be sort of divided into different sections. So for example, usually you'll have like a section dedicated for seasonal campers, so return customers every year, and they have like the big barbecue setups and decks and gazebos and stuff attached to their campers. So this is going to be in this location right by the water here, and as you can see, I'm stealing some props and things from the Aberdeen campground. Just going to copy that over. So So yeah, some people have some pretty fancy setups sometimes. And a lot of times in campgrounds too, you'll have like a dedicated section that's a little bit more secluded for tenting. So they'll have like a tenting area. So I'm gonna do that in this example too. So the section off to the right there, that's gonna be our dedicated tenting section. And right in the middle, we'll have like a nice little park. So there's all sorts of stuff to do in this sort of location here. So as we approach the conclusion of this episode, there's a few things that I want to go over. One is, in the last episode I mentioned that I created a Discord page, and just want to let you guys know once more that that page exists. So feel free to join that. The link is down in the description. Basically, it's just a place where you can go for updates on the Timbukton series and all sorts of different things that I'm working on. And of course, there's going to be a lot of information on Aurelia, the fictional country that I'm creating. So be sure to join that. There's quite a few people that have joined already, and so far it's pretty quiet. But I'm confident that in the next couple of weeks and months, traffic should pick up. Also, if you have any music recommendations for the channel, feel free to leave them over there. And yeah, I mean, it's just a sort of location where we can talk about whatever. There's a channel for off-topic topics, so you can talk about whatever you want. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to mention for that. For the next episode, I'm not really too sure what we're going to be working on. I'm not certain if I want to start to develop the agricultural area of Burton, or if I still want to move towards the city of Burton, get started on that. You'll just have to stay tuned for that. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to let you guys enjoy another couple of minutes of detailing, and afterwards we're going to get into some cinematics before the episodes end. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Of course, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. It helps me out a lot. And also be sure to hit the bell icon if you want to be the first to receive a notification as soon as I release another video. So that's it for me, and until the next episode, guys, please take care.